Well, Trump just straight up humiliated the British Prime Minister in front of the entire world. Why did Keir Starmer just walk away? And why did the leader of the UK seem so completely irrelevant at a global summit? This isn't just some diplomatic hiccup, folks. It's a symptom of a much larger problem brewing in Britain. British politicians are now officially being warned they're targets for spies, and the public is being told to get used to paper again. And I'm not just talking about toilet paper. No, this is not a joke. Over the next 20 minutes, you'll get the absolute latest from the island, and believe me, it's a wild ride. I'm Andrew Meet Rich, and this is what's really going on. I spent years on the inside of a major media corporation, watching them massage the facts to fit their agenda, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I walked. Now I'm independent, I say what needs to be said, and I bring you the stories that truly matter. To keep this channel going, to keep telling the truth without a corporate leash, I need your help. If you find value in what I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe even consider becoming a sponsor. It's your support that fuels this fight for real news. So let's get right into it. At the Peace Summit in Egypt, Britain's Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, found himself in a ridiculously awkward spot. During his speech, Donald Trump just randomly called him over, asked him how he was doing, and gave him a little pat on the back, like a good boy. Then, just as quickly, Trump turned back to the microphone, acted like Starmer wasn't even there, and carried on with his speech. Starmer was just left standing there, confused, before shuffling back to his spot. Of course, the moment went viral instantly, sparking a firestorm of criticism and ridicule online and in the papers. Starmer was labeled awkward, irrelevant, and even a national embarrassment. Commentators pointed out that Trump completely overshadowed him, turning the whole thing into a political circus. What a spectacle. And speaking of Trump, he also had a stark warning for Russia. He threatened that if the conflict in Ukraine isn't resolved soon, the US might supply Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles. He described the Tomahawks as powerful offensive weapons and stressed that Russia doesn't need that kind of added pressure. While he said the decision isn't final, he felt it was crucial to put it on the table. Predictably, Moscow expressed extreme concern, having previously warned of severe consequences for US-Russia relations if those missiles ever made their way to Ukraine. So what exactly are these Tomahawks? Well, it's a long-range cruise missile developed by the US way back in the 70s for the Navy, later upgraded for air and ground launches. It can hit targets nearly 1,500 miles away, which is more than enough to reach Moscow from Ukrainian territory, a distance of about 500 miles. Tomahawks fly low to the ground on small wings, powered by small jet engines, making them incredibly difficult for anti-missile systems to detect. Each one costs about $2 million and can carry a conventional warhead equivalent to 400 pounds of TNT or even a thermonuclear device. It's a serious piece of hardware. Meanwhile, back in the UK, the security service MI5 has warned British politicians that they are prime targets for spies from Russia, China, and Iran. In new guidance, MI5 told MPs, members of the House of Lords, and their staff that foreign agents might try to gather information or use financial aid as a tool for influence. MI5 highlighted that these spies often pose as diplomats, journalists, academics, or lobbyists. The government is, of course, deeply concerned about protecting Britain's democratic institutions from foreign interference and has promised to beef up security measures. It sounds like something out of a Cold War movie, but it's happening right now. And sticking with that theme, the National Cybersecurity Center warned that hackers from those same countries, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, are targeting the UK government, economy, and its people. China is apparently going after a wide range of sectors. Russia and its affiliated groups are retaliating for the UK's support of Ukraine. Iran could attack infrastructure, and North Korean hackers are stealing data while posing as freelance workers. It's a digital minefield. In a move that feels like stepping back in time, the UK government is now recommending that companies keep paper copies of their action plans for cyber attacks. The idea is to maintain operations and recover quickly if computer systems go down. After all this time moving from paper to digital, now we're being told to go back. Seems like the country needs an offline strategy, including ways to communicate without email. Better make a few copies. Now for a case that blurs the lines between journalism, activism, and national security. Activist Stephen Yaxley Lennon, better known as Tommy Robinson, refused to give police the PIN code to his phone when he was stopped at the Channel Tunnel back in July 2024. He claimed the device contained journalistic materials. He is now on trial for violating the Terrorism Act, which requires individuals detained under that specific section to disclose their passwords. If found guilty, he could face up to 3 months in prison and a fine of $2,500. Robinson claims he's being persecuted by the state and has even gotten support from Elon Musk, who is reportedly covering his legal fees. The court has banned the publication of his address due to threats against his life, and the trial is ongoing. On the economic front, the news isn't great. Unemployment in the UK has risen to over 1.7 million people, the highest it's been since the pandemic. The number of jobless people increased by more than 60,000 in just one quarter, pushing the rate up to 4.8%. The biggest job cuts are happening in the hospitality sector, while healthcare and social services have actually added jobs. At the same time, wage growth is slowing down. Employers are holding back on hiring and cutting hours because of weak demand, expensive credit, and uncertainty ahead of the autumn budget, all of which is hitting young people the hardest. The situation is further complicated by the rise of AI and increased costs for minimum wage and insurance contributions, making it even tougher for young professionals to find work. This is a good moment to remind you, if you appreciate this kind of in-depth, no-nonsense analysis, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Food price inflation is also up, hitting 5.2%, which is forcing shoppers to care less about sustainability. Only 9% of consumers are willing to pay more for eco-friendly products, even though half of them believe environmental issues are critical. The bottom line is, price and quality are what matter most right now. Spending on promotions and discounts has reached a high of 29.4% as people look for any way to save money. And because of new rules on promotions for products high in fat, salt, or sugar, the popularity of multi-buy deals on things like chips and cereals has dropped significantly. It seems that in the name of saving money, Britons are being pushed toward less healthy options. There's a strange trend happening within the National Health Service. After a rule change in 2023, there's been a massive spike in NHS employees who retire, collect their pension payouts, and then immediately return to work while still being part of the generous NHS pension programme. In the first year after the change, a record 18,725 people used this retire and return scheme. The trend is growing, with nurses and administrative staff making up the bulk of the participants. The NHS says this practice helps retain experienced staff and could even help reduce waiting lists. However, it requires careful financial planning to avoid negative consequences for the individuals involved. It's a curious loophole, to say the least. From pensions to pests, London bus drivers are complaining about massive cockroach infestations, not just on the buses, but even in their break areas. One former driver and activist, Kevin Mustafa, described finding insects in his drink can. He says the problem is systemic and stems from inadequate cleaning. The buses are often just superficially wiped down without the proper use of insecticides. Cockroaches are thriving in the drivers' cabs, where drivers spend long shifts and often eat their meals. And it's not just cockroaches, there have also been reports of bedbugs and fleas on London's public transport. Campaigners are now demanding regular fumigation of buses and better pest control measures. Transport for London officials claim that sanitary measures are in place and that infestations are rare, but the drivers strongly disagree. For those living in the Lewisham area of London, big changes are on the horizon. A plan is set to be approved to demolish the Lewisham shopping centre and replace it with 1,244 new apartments, including 329 affordable units, 661 student spots, and 445 co-living units. The 10-year project also includes new public spaces and a music venue. Opponents fear this will accelerate gentrification and erase the area's cultural character. They're demanding more social housing and are worried about the future of existing shops like Sainsbury's and Primark. Yesterday, Britain experienced a massive internet outage that affected customers of major providers like Vodafone, BT, and others across London, Glasgow, Cardiff, and more. Vodafone acknowledged a problem affecting its broadband and mobile networks and is still working to fix it. Here's a silver lining, though. Users who are without internet for more than 2 days are entitled to automatic compensation of $9.33 for each day the service is down. You don't even need to file a complaint, just report the outage, and if it's not fixed within 2 days, the compensation is applied automatically. A little tip, always keep a record of the time and duration of any outage and all your communications with the provider. In a somewhat random turn of events, former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak suddenly called for the urgent introduction of targeted screening for prostate cancer, claiming such a program would save countless lives while being affordable. He supports a model that would test men aged 45 to 69 from high-risk groups, including those with a family history of the disease and black men who have double the risk. The process would involve a combination of PSA tests and MRIs, with a biopsy if needed. But that story is immediately followed by a shocking cautionary tale from the world of British medicine. A 59-year-old man named Clive Collins from Cambridgeshire went in for a routine operation to remove prostate cancer. After the surgery, to his horror, he discovered his manhood had shrunk from 4 inches to just 1.5. He claims the doctors never mentioned this particular, very personal side effect, only vaguely referring to potential erection problems. The hospital predictably says the risk was mentioned in the documents he signed, probably without reading the fine print. In the end, the cancer is gone, but the man says his personal life and self-esteem are in ruins. It's a stark reminder to always read the fine print, especially before surgery. And finally, in a bizarre scene from London, police have started telling people they are forbidden from singing church songs on the streets, outside of a church. This has, understandably, shocked many Britons who have repeatedly seen and heard public expressions from other religious groups. One officer was even caught on camera sticking her tongue out after telling people to stop singing. It raises a lot of questions about what is and isn't allowed in public spaces, especially when it comes to religious expression. Let's take a quick look at what the political cartoonists are saying. The Times pictures Trump boasting that he's achieved a ceasefire, freed hostages, and ended the war. But when you zoom out, Putin is standing behind him, threatening him, and saying, "That's Ukraine, not the Gaza Strip." The Telegraph depicts the Egypt summit with Trump as a giant pharaoh labeled peace, surrounded by chaos. And The Guardian offers its take on Trump's greatness, showing him with his hands drenched in blood, suggesting that only his suit is great, not the man himself. So let's quickly recap what we've covered. We saw the public humiliation of the British Prime Minister on the world stage, a stark warning from the US about arming Ukraine with powerful missiles, and a deep dive into the spy games and cyber threats facing the UK. We touched on rising unemployment, the tough choices shoppers are facing due to inflation, and a bizarre pension loophole in the NHS. And of course, we can't forget the cockroach-infested buses, major development plans in London, a nationwide internet blackout, and a couple of truly shocking medical and policing stories. It's been a packed day, and these are the stories that shape our world, the ones the mainstream media often buries or spins. If you believe in this mission, in getting the unvarnished truth out there, please support this channel. Like the video, subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and if you can, consider becoming a sponsor. Your support is what makes all of this possible, and I'm incredibly grateful for it.